you were acting with her.
Right.
Tell me something about acting with Hilary Swank.
Well, so, oh man. All right, here's the God's honest truth.
I feel like you're very Toronto to me now. I hear of sightings of you all the time around town, you know?
Yeah, but for me, it's like a shock that I'm at Waffle House with my kids. And like I'm very easy to spot at the lowbrow places. But yeah, it's still weird being written about, like, you know, going to breakfast with my family and people like take pictures and talk about it.
You're right, because I told some folks I was talking to you and they were like, "Oh yeah, I see that guy around town sometimes," and I'm like, that gotta be weird.
The toughest thing is, you know, I work out at so back in the States, I've got a gym in my house. Here, you know, there's a ban on foreign buyers, so I can't buy without a huge, 25% tax. And it's like, which I'm actually doing right now anyway, because I just can't take renting anymore.
Yeah. And you just love Canada so much.
And I love Canada so much, but
go.
it's like every couple months I'm in like a new area shooting in a new place. And it's tough on the family to move that much. Anyway, so I can't like have a gym in my car, right?
Yeah.
So I work out at the YMCA, and I can't tell you the amount of times people have come up to me and be like, "Dude, why are you working out at the YMCA?" I'm like, where? Because it's a gym. I got to work out. It fits my life.
I got to tell you, when I go to the gym and I look around, I often look around at who's around me to feel like, okay, things are going okay. Like, I feel I belong here. This is all right. If I looked around and I saw you, I'd be like, I'm either on the way to something or I don't belong here at all. But you know what I mean? I'm glad you found your home at the Y in Toronto.
Very simple.
This is a beautiful film. I gave a little bit of the synopsis in the introduction. You're a widower, now at risk of losing your youngest daughter to liver disease, in massive debt. You need money to help her get a liver transplant. Hilary Swank plays a single mom, a hairdresser who steps in and offers help. True story, a real life story.
A shocking true story. In fact, what's crazy about this story is the actual story. This man lost his wife to a rare disease, and he lost one of his daughters to it, and his second daughter got the same thing. So really, this story picks up. It was called "Snow Baby" in the headlines back when it was happening in real time, and this was the last of three women in his life that he was fighting for. That was almost like too much for the movie. So in the film, it's we're witnessing the loss of one of his daughters, and that in and of itself is kind of overwhelming to watch. But the real story is even tougher to stomach.
But also, what a story of community coming together to help this guy.
Right.
You know, it's a really beautiful thing. Well, what drew you to it? What made you want to get involved?
This script found me right at the end of, actually, I should say, right when Reacher season 1 premiered. And it was a wild weekend because there was months of anticipation and the whole town was kind of watching. And we were getting phone calls like, we've got our eye on you and let's see how it goes. And within 48 hours, it was, one of the biggest shows Amazon had ever had and one of the biggest shows on TV. And, we had like 50 offers for all the coolest stuff, but it was all action. So this one script slipped through the cracks and it was Ordinary Angels. And I just felt like it was such a beautiful, true, dramatic story and so different than what I was, the other opportunities I was seeing. That I just, I chased it down and I was not right for the part. This guy in real life, he's rail thin, very blue collar, very different build, like doesn't look like he can punch his way out of the weather that he faces in the storm. And when I sat down with John Gunn, the writer director, he was like, Lionsgate said I had to take a meeting with you. I know you really want to do this. You're not who I had in mind for this part. Like, you're the furthest thing from it. And I was like, look, I get it, but I've got 3 kids. I understand what it would be like to experience the pain of loss of a child, and I can bring that to the part. The essence of this man and his struggle, I think I can capture. So I basically I begged for the part, and I was just lucky to get it.
When the time came that you got it, did you get a chance to meet the real life people behind the story?
I've never met him. I know the real Ed Schmidt, and this. Maybe that's for the best. When you're playing like, real life heroes, it's always humbling because you never really know what the response is going to be. But for example, I played Anders Lassen in Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a movie on the way with
Guy
Ritchie. Yeah. And the author of the book that the movie was based on, I met him on the last day of filming, and he was so happy to meet you. I've wanted to see Anders Lassen come to life on screen forever. But we told Anders Lassen's sister, who's still with us, and when she saw a picture of you, she bawled her eyes out. She wept bitterly that you got the part. She said, he's nothing like Anders Lassen. So like, I've experienced disappointing people in real life, so I'm always I'm a little reticent to meet the real ones. I don't want to let anybody down. But no, we have not had the privilege of meeting yet.
You get to act across from Oscar winner Hilary Swank, who's actually sat there before. We've talked to her on the show.
Oh, how was
before.
that?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And very had a great chat. But I was just chatting with her. You were acting with her.
Right.
Tell me something about acting with Hilary Swank.
Well, oh man. All right, here's the God's honest truth. Okay. It's Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
Right. We all know how decorated and talented she is.
Yep.
She had no clue who I was coming into this, which I don't fault her. I mean, I'm 41 years old and just breaking.
Yeah.
In fact, a crazy side story. When I was 30, I was up for a big movie and I was very right for the part and went in and auditioned and felt like it went really well. And we found out that it went far, but I found out that it was going to be a pass on me. And I was like, that can't be. Like I was born to play this part. Like this is mine. And the casting director said, if you haven't broken by 30, you'll never break. It's too late for you. And I was like, oh.
What a thing to say to somebody.
Oh, it lit a fire in me. It was like, I took it as a challenge,
right?
And so anyway, here we are, 10, 11 years later. And I'm enjoying where my career is at the moment, but still humbled by, what life has for me because
Sure.
I go to meet Hilary who, I was on the movie. We got it set up. We got it greenlit. Needed a strong female protagonist. Mm-hmm. And Hilary was gracious enough to come on, not really knowing who I was. But when we met on set, she was very polite. Don't get me wrong. She was not a diva. She was not mean. There was just this attitude of like, I don't know who you are and you better be good.
Yeah.
You're in my, I'm in scenes with you. So we hardly spoke.
Yeah.
Hardly spoke. She was affable, but like hardly connected.
All right.
And I was like, okay, I understand. If I was a 2-time Oscar winner and I had some newcomer greenlighting some film, I'd be like, this better go well. I don't know. And when we did our first scene together, she stopped after our first take and she grabbed me on the shoulder and she said, I'm so glad you're doing this. This is going to be so good for you. I can't wait to help introduce people to who you are. And I was like, oh my God, we did it. We did it. I've arrived. And the rest, and then she opened up. Then she opened up and it was, we had a really good time and really connected. And she's such a special person. But I was like a little nervous going into it.
I would think so. Yeah. I would think so. She's one of the more decorated actors of our time.
She's a baller. She is a baller. She knows. Yeah, she's great. And look what she brought to the film. You've seen it. I mean, she's phenomenal as usual.
I find your story really, really interesting, but I can't quite place all of it together because, when I look at the story of you and how you got into the arts, there's just one thing I can't quite figure out. So I know you're from Niceville, Florida?
Niceville, Florida is where
great
I
name,
hail from mostly.
by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I come from Meanville, Newfoundland, by the way. And you come from a military family. Your dad's a retired U.S. Air Force Chief Master Sergeant.
That's right.
I don't talk to many people who come from military families who end up in the arts.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? How do you?
That has to happen.
Yeah, it certainly does. But I'm curious about. I talk to more people who don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying what are you doing here.
Yeah.
I'm actually saying
how does it happen?
Because I find it really interesting.
I do too.
You find
I do too.
Good, because I talk to people who my parents were teachers or whatever. My mom was an English teacher. My dad was I talked to someone. Who did I talk to? Pablo Schreiber. Talked to him the other day.
It's like dad was a painter. Mom was a
dad was a acting coach.
Oh, there you go. See, Nepotism. This industry is full of it. Unbelievable. I gotta pave my own way.
I got a list of names.
I don't know nobody.
How does acting and entertaining come into your life?
I'm just a hardcore opportunist. And I, the world sort of the world helps guide you towards your truth, and if you listen, I think you'll find it. But I sing, I'm very musical.
Yeah.
That was my first love.
Growing up?
Yeah. And, I was pursuing a degree in music theater, and I was in ballet thinking like, what the hell am I going to do with a degree in music theater? Like, if I want to go to Broadway, you don't need a degree. You got to go sing well and perform. So I don't know. So university wasn't for me, and I had academic scholarships and everything, and I just wasn't. I knew it wasn't for me. But my parents have always supported everything I've ever done, except for modeling. My dad didn't talk to me for a few months when I said I was going to do that. I quit school to go to be a model, Dad. He didn't get it. I didn't get it either, but I needed some excuse to like spread my wings,
You know what I'm realizing is just I'm applying on you other people's stories. That's all I'm doing. I'm thinking about Jim, because Jim Morrison, very famously, he was from The Doors, famous rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, I believe his dad was like a very important general in the United States Army, or no, in the Navy. Anyway, couldn't stand that his son was this rock star. You know what? The more I'm talking to you about it, the more I think I'm applying like a story I read about in the news to a real person.
No, but it's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, really, how do you find a path in this business without someone pioneering it for you in some way? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I come from a very blue collar family. My mom didn't, she was not an artist. Her occupation was literally whatever was closest to her three sons. So however she could keep her thumb on us, it was like she would like run it wasn't even a teacher. She would like run the computer lab at a school so she could scan disks for viruses and then check our attendance records for herself personally. Like, it was, my dad was in the military, so I don't know. I think music is where, if we're going to talk about artistry, where I was sort of informed that there may be something like that going on.
That you might be good at something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could we play the clip song? Do we have the clip?
Oh, is there?
You are the sunshine of my life.
Oh God, is Paula going to come out from behind a curtain right now?
We keep her on retainer.
You are the apple of my eye.
Lord.
Okay. Tell me what we're listening to there.
This is, I believe this is American Idol season 3.
And you auditioned.
And I was probably, 19 years old, something like that. Yeah. And I think I was modeling in Miami, and I had the show was like really popular at the time, and I didn't really watch TV, but a lot of friends were like, you should audition for this show. Anyway, they flew me to LA, so I was a semifinalist, and it was my first time to LA. That is, again, talking about being an opportunist, that was my first venture into seeing what the kind of passion that people had for the arts. And really what sold me on LA, this is going to sound really bad, I remember being in the room. So they broke us up into 3 different rooms. Mm-hmm. And one of the rooms was the final 10 or 12 or whatever. And 2 of the rooms were getting sent home. And so, they walk in, Paula, Simon, everybody, they walk in, and Randy, you are not going further. And to me, I was like, oh man, this was such a cool experience. Like, I'm so glad. Wow, I got to go to LA. In my head, I'm like, that was fun. On to the next thing life has for me. And all around me, people are bawling. But this girl right next to me, she fell to her back like a child and was like kicking her fists and hands in the air, screaming, tears streaming down her face. And all I could think was like, I want to know what it's like to like want something that bad.
I want to know what it's like to want something that bad.
Right. I've never felt like that about anything. I mean, I've always been like, wow, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to figure something else out. If I need to eat and I'm not an actor by tomorrow, I'll dig ditches. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Life will have something interesting. I'd never seen that before.
And did you want that? Is that, or
I envied her. I envied that thing that she had inside her to make her weep bitterly when she heard no, like her life had been plucked from her, like she'd lost a child or something. I mean, this was obviously so meaningful to her. And I was like, I kind of want to know what that feels like to like want something that bad.
And does that happen with acting for you then? Like, are you able to go like, oh, once I found acting, I get it. I get what she was dealing with.
Yes, in a way, I'm much more level-headed than that. As stupid as that sounds, if you know me, and I'm bipolar and temperamental and whatever, that's a terrible picture to paint of myself.
I get you though.
But like yes, I care deeply about what I do for a living, storytelling and the medium that I'm in, where we get to either offer wish fulfillment or escapism or plant seeds for ideas and conversations that should be had. I mean, I love what I do. I don't know. I don't know if I'd fall on my back and cry if I didn't get a part, but I've also, I was blessed, and I use that word very carefully. I was blessed with heavy losses early on in my career that were teachers for me.
Like not getting stuff?
Absolutely. For example, the very first show that I was on, after American Idol, I moved out to LA. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be there and see if it was infectious. That thing that happened to her, maybe I'd catch it.
Yeah.
And I had a modeling agent who was sending guys out on auditions, and I told him, I said, I'd like to go too and make a little extra money if we can. We'll see if I can, maybe I'm good at it. I don't know. And I went out and I booked like this little horror film. I booked, I acted the part of Beowulf for Ray Winstone's Beowulf, because Ray Winstone didn't really look the part, but he voiced it, And so I was on set with all these legends and like, oh, I'm working. And then I got this job on Smallville playing Aquaman. And it was in season 5, and the episode that I guest starred on set a ratings record for the show. 5 seasons in, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty good.
Very little to do with me, but
Sure.
I think, people wanted a new character like that. So it instantly spawned a spinoff. So we were negotiating for this spinoff, and I was getting calls from the studio. Like at 9 o'clock at night, my phone would ring and like, hey, Alan, I'm the guy who's here to help you keep your head on the ground because you're on a rocket right now. If you ever need anything fixed, if you ever get into trouble,
okay,
I'm your guy. Day or night, 24/7, you've got my number. If you're in trouble, give me a call. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get into trouble. I don't even like going to clubs.
Much less the kind of trouble
I just want to work.
Someone needs to fix for you. Okay, right.
So I have like fixers calling me. So I'm like, oh man, this is like really happening. And then there was a merger that took place between, it was UPN and Warner Brothers merged to create CW, CW, which makes those kind of shows. And the president of UPN took over, and he saw me, this guy with he made a great call, to be honest with you. He's like, who the hell is this dude thinks he's going to get his own show? That's not how this is going to happen. You're going to find somebody more experienced for a monstrously expensive pilot with a lot of water and stuff. And so I lost the job, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why?
Oh my God. Because it taught me to hold loosely to there's this very fickle business and not to count on anything. And if I hadn't learned that, also, if I had gotten that show and it had gone, I never would have been able to do the kinds of things I'm doing now. Yeah. I really believe that. I think it would have teed me up for a very different career.
You would have got stuck in a certain kind of television.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Exactly.
A certain. We'll say no more, but like a certain world of television.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for a lot of reasons, it was like it was a blessing, and it forced me to really kind of hone my chops.
I mean, when Reacher comes along, which was the role that Jack Reacher was the role that Tom Cruise played first. Like you said at the very beginning when we first sat down and talked, you were like, people were like, what's the show going to be? What's going on?
Yeah.
Who's this guy? And then very quickly, it becomes one of the biggest shows on TV. It becomes this incredible success on Amazon. Does that, what you just told me, like, hey, don't take anything for granted, prevent you from being able to be like, oh, okay, this is really working?
Kind of. Yeah. I also am, we could talk about imposter syndrome. We could talk about skepticism. Really, I am allergic to resting on laurels. I I never want to be the kind of story that's like, what happened to that guy? You know, because I got cocky and stopped really, stopped really focusing on what the audience wants and deserves out of a story. And so I'm always challenging my teammates, and Reacher especially, like we can always be better, and more honest and authentic towards the books and towards the audience. And so, always pushing. And it can be annoying for people, because they're like, hey, look, we got to make a show on TV right now, but it's just not how I operate. So before this second season came out, actually, let me give you a little context. When season 1 came out, again, a lot of anticipation. Yeah. We were waiting. Yeah. It releases, because of the UK, on at 7 o'clock on a Thursday. It technically releases on a Friday and plays over the weekend. By Saturday, it had been on long enough to have these numbers come in, and it was a record-setting show for Amazon Prime. And it was at the time the biggest show on TV in the world. And I knew by like 11 a.m. on Saturday, I got the call, and I was like, oh my God, like we've got a hit on our hands. I've never been a part of something like that. Everybody always talked about the projects that I've been like, this is going to be the one, this is going to be the one. And those are the ones that never pan out the way that you hope they do. So season 2 rolls around, and that was my experience. So I'm sort of anticipating a phone call at some point over the weekend, and it never comes. And I was like, oh God. And so I really try to stay away from like reading comments and, there's so many articles and it's so much, it's the topic of conversation. It's hard to avoid seeing what people think about this thing. And there's a lot of people complaining like, oh, I don't like the 1/10 and I want to see more Reacher on his own. And I was like, oh no, people aren't liking it. It's not working this year. So Sunday rolls around, still no phone call. I got to work on Monday. So I'm at work on Monday, and I swear to God, it's like the show didn't even come out. Like nobody's talking about it. My crew's just like it's any old Wednesday on our set. We've been shooting together for months, and I was like, I think we're getting canceled. And so I called my wife, and I was like, I don't think this is going to keep going. I just want you to know, I got a really bad feeling, and I don't know what we're going to do if it doesn't. She goes, babe, like, we've been through this before. We've survived a lot. Like, I'm with you. We're not here. I'm not with you because of Reacher. Yeah. Like we got each other. We got our kids. We're going to be, we've got this. Yeah. So she's like championing me being homeless. And I finally, at the end of the day, nobody had said a word. And I was like, man, I can't take this anymore. I do not like being a nag. But I called my showrunner and I was like, so, like, have you heard anything? Am I the only one that wants to know what the hell's happening right now? And he's like, oh, yeah, well, they're waiting on official numbers to come in. Nielsen's doing it different. I don't know. But they said something about mega hit, so I think we're good. I'm like, oh, okay. And then the next day, we got the numbers, and it was 4 times the audience of season 1. I mean, it's just unprecedented. So but I'm always like, tomorrow could be the end if we're not great. So I'm.
I was hoping you could tell me a story that I heard about you, that when you got this gig, you'd be well within your rights to not reach out to anyone who had sort of embodied this character. But I heard that you reached out to Tom Cruise. I'll also say a notoriously hard guy to reach out to, like maybe a hard guy to get on the phone. I don't. Can you tell me the story?
Well, so what had happened was, what happened was I booked the part. And nobody had really addressed the elephant in the room, which is that I was taking over this role from Tom Cruise, who's a legend and I revere. And I felt like I should say something, like I should acknowledge my a fair bit of gratitude that I had for him passing the torch. And so I wrote a letter to Don Granger, who's my boss. He's head of film at Skydance, who produces our show and has had a great hand in developing Reacher and bringing that to the medium of TV and film. Right. He signed a deal for the IP for the rights. I think it was at like book 10 when he got a hold of this and partnered with Lee Child and started, like this could be a thing. And so anyway, so Don Granger and Tom Cruise have had a relationship for a long time. They made a lot of movies together, and so it made sense for them to take a stab at this. So Don was a part of that whole world the first time, and he was very much a part. He's still very much a part of the world that we've built for Prime. So I gave him the letter, and I was like, "What do you think? What do you think? Should we? I really feel like I should just let him know I'm grateful, and I'll do everything I can to make him proud, and he took the letter and he said, I'll think about it and think about how to approach this. It's a delicate topic. And the next day he came back to me and he said, I've decided it's not a good idea to give him the letter, and we'll let this lie where it is. I was like, okay, all right. And so we never really addressed it. And I think it's fine that way. I think everybody's fine that way.
This story doesn't end with but then he did get the letter.
No, well, should I say this?
Go on.
Well, there's no closure. We don't have any closure. I don't know. I went on. So I mentioned this. I was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Heard of it?
And we were talking about this, and so it I told the anecdotal story about the letter, and we got a call from Tom Cruise's team. Tom really wants to talk to you. So he just got my contact info, and so I'm awaiting a conversation with Mr. Cruise.
Come on, pull out the phone. We'll do it right now.
Call him right now. Yeah. Anyway, so I think he understands. I think he's aware. He's also a very busy man, so we'll see what transpires. But that's where it is. So maybe next time we come on, I'll tell you about the conversation he and I have.
I can't wait to hear about it. Even though we could do it now, I was going to say right now we could do it now. Be good for the both of us. But back to you for a second before we get going. You said a lot of things in there a little while ago, just about you. You said, first off, when you came in, I hope this is okay, I'm acknowledging this, before we turn the microphones on, I said, hey, we're going to talk about this and this and this today. You said, hey, come on, I'm an open book, whatever you want.
This is true.
You said, you've been really open about your bipolar diagnosis. You've been really open about your faith in an industry that doesn't always value that. You were really open. I really found this fascinating because I've heard no one talk about this, about that. Hey, when you're build, and we make jokes about how you're built, but like when your build and your physique is your job, when you have to maintain a certain build and physique for your work, what that does to your health, what that might do to your mind, and all that kind of stuff. Why does it give you to be so open about this? Because there is openness in the arts around this stuff, but they're not typically from. This is not great for me to say. I feel like it doesn't typically come from people in action movies and action shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't fit the profile, right?
Of someone who's going to be vulnerable and open.
Like,
yeah.
Big dude. I've been successful as far as financially speaking for many years. This career has been very good to me.
Yeah.
You don't think of somebody that is, sort of a guy trapped in a leading man physique with a lot of money, like wanting to kill themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And so because it doesn't fit and because it's not a narrative I expected, I certainly cannot be alone in the fact that many of us experience depressive episodes that can steal from us, and that can come in degrees. How our minds can rob us in great and small ways, and sometimes there's a finality to that is so tragic. It would be a real crime. It would be a travesty if I kept my experience a secret. So, as much as I would love to ignore the fact that I'm a suicide survivor, and it's still very hard to talk about. I tried to take my life by hanging in my mid-30s, and if I didn't share what I've learned, I feel like my life would be meaningless.
If you didn't share with other people, if you weren't able to be open and honest with, so that people understand that they too are not alone for going through this. That depression and suicidal ideation and suicidal actions don't have a profile.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't only happen to certain kinds of people.
Yeah. Depression doesn't just like it doesn't handpick like the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the person that you'd expect.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I've always been a very happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it would happen to me. In fact, I didn't understand it to the point that if somebody told me before my experience with it, if somebody told me that they were depressed, in my head, I'm like, well, just get off your ass and go work out,
Go for a hike, call
Yeah.
a friend.
Dude, if you just work out, I feel great. You get a runner's high. And also if you really have it, then you just take medication. Just go do something. And once you experience the grip, the talons that it can sink into you, you realize how sinister this thing is and how out of control the biology can really be for somebody who's in the midst of it. The confounding expression that it can have with suicidal ideation, where for me at least, and I think this is true for many people that I've spoken to, that you can feel like suicide would be a real gift to those you love because that you would no longer be a burden to them. That is something I hope my openness and honesty about the condition and my survival, being on the other side of it and having a lot more clarity and, having, a little more logic and reason happening in the chemistry, can prevent people from doing something before they're arriving at the place, they arrive at the place that I've been. So, I went from, this place of utter exhaustion, of forcing long-term mania in order to generate the kind of work demands that I was accepting, that I was walking into. I took on too much. I was running a film fund. I was writing books and manuscripts for people as a ghostwriter. I was selling scripts, as a member of the WGA. I was directing films. I was producing. I was starring in a TV show. It was too much, and my idea of success at the time was what many of us are told: you work hard, you make good choices, and you'll see success, which will come in the form of lots of financial gain and status in your community, and maybe if you're real lucky, you can help other people along the way. And that's sort of like the mantra that most of us sort of try to abide by. It sounds really good. And I can tell you from experience, while accumulating a lot of wealth, and I had all these fancy cars, and I had a great house, and I even had a lovely family that I adore, that you realize there's nothing at the top. And so I was grinding, working 20 hours a day sometimes to try to get it all done, for months on end, no hyperbole. It was, it left me empty, and I realized there's nothing at the top.
There's no getting to the summit and, okay, I did it.
Right. No. What do you do when you're at the top? Then you're just, you're around a circle of billionaires who all have double lives because they're miserable.
Yeah.
I got a really grotesque picture of life at the top.
Yeah.
And it scared me a little bit, and it wore me down. And I realized there was something so vacuous about it, and so empty and so temporal. And I've since discovered, I think why we're here is, I do have faith. I believe in God. I believe that we're made to become an act of worship for our Creator, to live our lives in a way that just everything we do is an act of worship, celebrating the life that we've been given, and to celebrate each other, and to find ways to lift each other up, and just, make each world that we run into a brighter one. It's very simple, and it's very fulfilling, and I'm not very good at it. I'm a very aggressive, stubborn, strong-willed perfectionist who expects way too much of myself and far too much of others. I'm not easy to live with. I've got bipolar. I'm temperamental. I'm an artist who is very demanding. I'm the wrong candidate to be having this conversation. I can assure you. I'm not the poster child for this movement. And yet, here I am, talking about it with you, because I was found in this condition, and I was called to awaken to that truth that I truly feel is much bigger than myself, and I hope all of us awaken to, because there is something abounding in peace when you are serving other people in the world with your life in every creative way that you can. And that's where I am, but I needed to go through I needed to walk through those.
Go through hell to get there.
Yeah. And so to answer your question, to bring it back to what you were saying about how, wearing your heart on your sleeve and why. I mean, that's why, because of what I found. Like, if I didn't talk about this, because I know I've gotten so many letters from people just by sharing my experience. I'm not even really giving great answers. I'm just like, this is what I've been through, but I'm still here. And I'm glad I'm still here. It's enough for people to write me and go like, I was going to commit suicide and I felt so hopeless, but the way you explain it, it makes sense. And so now I'm doing all these things to like reorient my life, and I'm glad, and I have a family, and wow, like I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah. You made it through it. Yeah,
and I want other people to make it through too.
I mean, I promise I'm not just being glib here, and I'm not just being clever, but like there were moments. I mean, it's such an incredibly dark time we're living in right now. And when I was watching this film, especially when I got to the end, and again before I found out it was a real life story, I was just sort of grateful for something that reminded me that people have goodness in them.
And don't we need that? I mean, it sounds cliche to think like, oh, we need this movie to remind us of like how important community is and how we can do things
for strangers.
But it really is the perfect portrayal of that, and it's a story that I think we need more of, and we need to be reminded as human beings from time to time that like, oh, that's what we're capable of. That's really where our untapped potential exists, is in our ability to move mountains for each other. That's what this movie does.
I can't begin to tell you what a pleasure to meet you, man.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you too.
Thanks for coming in.
I've heard so many great things about you. I'm from the U.S., so I haven't listened to your show a ton, but everybody that I've talked to is like gushing. In fact, we changed my flight pattern so that I could come do this in person, because we were going to do like a Zoom thing, and I've heard so many things about it. I was like, I think I have to do this in person, because I've heard just you're the best.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much. Very kind of you to say. And I know you're going to end this with, and to be honest,
And they were all wrong.
Yeah, everyone was telling me this is going to be the greatest, and to be honest, 3 out of 10. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.